I want you to think about your last bad hire and how much money it costed you. And the reason why is because if you just use numerology, this could have been easily avoidable. And after you finish this video, I'm going to give you an easily applicable framework so you'll never hire dud again. And this is because I'm going to tell you what life path is good for which type of roles. So you're maximizing someone's strengths rather than telling them to double down on their weakness, and they're never going to perform. The other thing that's very important is managing your expectations based on their personal years. Now, this is a totally different video, but I'm just giving you the information there. So today I'm going through the first 3 life paths. Obviously, first one is the 1 life path. This is also applicable for if you're born on these days. So the yeses, as in the ones where they're really good at. Any type of leadership roles, athletic roles. I know that's a bit general, but again, I don't know, even something like a security guard, ones are good at that stuff. And then sales. I've said that because remember, to be a good salesman, people have to trust you. And who do people trust the most? Their leaders. This is obviously typically, if we're talking about like presidents and shit, true, but you get what I'm saying. They're also very good at being lawyers. Again, it's because of the debating side of being a one. Ones are very argumentative. This suits their energy very well. And again, the trust factor is there because at the end of the day, lawyers, especially the ones that actually go to trial, are glorified salesmen. They're selling the jewelry of their story of what happened. Accountants, they're good at being accountants. This is really only for 28s. Again, it depends on the combinations. Are they this life path born on a certain day? This is where you'd probably need to get a reading from me to give you like a niche answer, but I'm just throwing it out there. New departments, and this is because they have great initiative, they are independent, and this is very good for something like that. And that is because when it's a new department, there isn't really a framework that the company has given you to execute. So you have to make shit up on the fly. And this is why these guys are good at that. And obviously, one is about new beginnings. So it fits in and aligns with their energy. The typical positive traits will be that they're very ambitious. They always want to go to the top. And so they are typically willing to stay longer, pick up extra shifts, whatever, just because, again, they want to be the king. They want to be the leader. They're very, very straightforward and honest with colleagues and managers. Obviously, this can be a con, but it's also very good. As I said, great initiative because they are naturally independent. And this means they don't need someone to watch over them constantly. They can literally, go to the morning meeting and then they can be left alone and they will deliver. And they are very, very good in competitive environments. This is kind of where you bring out and you maximize a 1, is when they are in competition and they believe that they're close to being the best, but they're not the best yet. Now, the no-goes for ones, it will always be subordinate roles. Now, there's one caveat. If they deem the leader or their manager to be incompetent, it's not going to work out at all. But they are good subordinates if they deem their leader or their manager to be a very, very competent person. Because at the end of the day, ones respect hierarchy because, again, their psychology is very hierarchical. So again, they will respect it if they believe that their manager is right for the role and is competent. Any mediation or diplomacy roles, they're absolutely awful. Something like HR is just, it would just be a mess. These guys don't have a peaceful disposition. Not like they're aggressive, but yeah, they won't hold their tongue. They will say what they believe in, and yeah, they're very direct, and that just doesn't suit it. Customer service, they just don't have the patience, especially for people they deem to be, let's say, slow or less intelligent, and they will just get annoyed and frustrated because, again, they are very hierarchical and very, very cutthroat in terms of competency. Again, they're not the best at team-orientated roles unless they are the leader, because they're like, a good example is, let's say, group projects at school. these guys will just do everything by themselves because they don't, they think other people hold them back, is basically the thing. Now, I have made an important distinction for two life paths, rather than just 11 life paths, because there will be discrepancies. So this is for these people, or if your life path adds up to 20. So the yeses, anything to do with hospitality, especially working in like hotels or restaurants, they're very, very good at this. And yeah, they just have a genuine knack. And they can go very high in these type of fields. And then especially, for example, if they're, let's say, the 28th and they're like a 20 life path, they'd be brilliant at owning a hotel and making like a, I don't know, a franchise or something. They are also excellent at HR roles because they have the right amount of compassion and people skills. And they do have, again, like the motherly nature and the side where they are trying to genuinely look out for people, because that is what HR originally is for. It's not to catch you out, it's to, empower the employees. Again, this is the same line of thinking for nurses. They genuinely do look after and are naturals at caring for people. So something like a nurse, excellent. Typically, they always thrive in roles that have short distance travel involved. So, for example, let's say they're a free life path and they're born on the 2nd. If you're doing door-to-door sales where you're obviously going around a neighborhood, that would be perfect for them. So it's stuff like that. Even if you're doing like catering events, that would be another perfect thing, especially if, again, you're born on the 2nd and you're a 5 life path because of the travel thing too. But yeah, one extra thing, food. Oh, my spelling's off, but anything to do with food, they're like good at. So not owning a restaurant, but being a cook, or I mean, you can do owning a restaurant if the other combinations are right. But yeah, now the no-goes, competitive roles is basically it. So they don't thrive in high pressure environments. So when pressure is on, they don't perform, which is the opposite of the one. And this is why typically something like sales, they won't like any sporty roles. They won't like even stuff like law or something like that, where there is a lot of pressure and there's a lot of things on the line. Yeah, it's just because twos are about comfort, and in competitive roles, comfort isn't there. Leadership roles, again, no, like they're not really built for that. Again, there are exceptions if they're born on a 1 or stuff like that, different, but leadership roles, no. And that is because 1 or 2s are naturally non-confrontational, which is not what you need in a leader. You need a leader to confront. Then, again, it's the high pressure and always thinking, because, again, once you're in a high position, there are people wanting your roles, unfortunately. And you have to be on your A game, and you will be a bit tense, and they don't thrive in those type of situations. Again, there is a second layer, and that indicates how they'll perform in the first 12 months, and that is based on their personal year. And again, as I said, I'll cover it in the next video, so subscribe, and you will understand that, for example, if they're in, let's say, a 9 personal year, things will be quite turbulent potentially in their family life, and maybe this isn't the right time to hire them. Or you can look at it like this: called the first 12 months, they won't give me what I want, but eventually they will in the next personal year. And obviously there's discrepancies, because if their birthday's in 3 months, you can say, cool, the first 3 months, they might not be good. Let's hold off on ending them for probation. Now, free life paths or people born on these days, the yeses, sales, they're brilliant at, because again, the foundation of sales is communicating. So especially if you're like a 3 and a 1, the communication skills of the 3 and the 1 being the authority, perfect. Then marketing, because it is a creative role, and 3s have a good knack of getting your attention, whether it is by them being creative or them being funny. And these are both important things for marketing. And as I said before, creative jobs are perfect for them. So that can be like a designer, potentially a graphic designer, depending on the combinations. But yeah, writing roles are perfect. So that can be copywriting, an actual writer, like a script writer, for example, another good thing. And also, this is a bit niche, but working with children, they are perfect. So that can be like a social care worker, a teacher, or it could be, again, depending on your combination, a business that is primarily catered towards kids. So it could be something like toys or something like that. But again, as a business owner, creative jobs, so maybe they handle your social media or for your sales team. Now the no's typically will be tech roles, and this is because tech roles can be quite repetitive. When I mean tech roles, I mean like computer coding or something like that. And then system or chart roles, again, they'll find it boring and not stimulating enough, because again, systems, they're always repetitive. What I mean systems, I mean like data analyst or something like that. And this is part one of a two-part series where I'm going to, next video, analyze the other life paths and what the perfect roles are for them. And as I said before, the day that they're born influences the energy and the chart. So there are exceptions to the rule of what I've just said. So if you want a more in-depth, especially if you're going to, let's say, hire, I don't know, a lawyer or someone that has a hefty salary, book a reading or a CEO reading with me, and I can go through their chart, their compatibility, and their expectations of what they will achieve in this month or this year and the next year. And as I said before, please like and subscribe. Next video will be out next week where I do part 2.